Hello everyone, this is Bentley, and they're finally here. Well, they've been here for about a week and a half or so, but I gave them time to acclimate. The mystery rainbows are here, let's not waste any time. Let's go straight into the unpacking and then eventually showing them the next basically 2 days as they got comfortable to their new home in that 40-gallon long that we set up just a couple videos back. First off, I got a couple thank yous, my roommate and my girlfriend, for filming this while unboxing them while I was at work. They came in 2 boxes, so I'm only showing you one, but I really wanted you guys to see how well Dan packs his fish. So as you can see, styrofoam liner, large flat rate box, all lovely. Heat packs, they were nice and warm. Every fish has its own individual bag. Every single fish. Now I got 17 fish in total, so that meant I had 17 little bags, 1 fish apiece. And it's just immaculate. You can see they're double bagged. There's a little paper liner in there. Just well packaged, plenty of room. They're not crammed together. Lots of air. Dan uses compressed oxygen to fill the bag so they can last quite a while. Even though USPS screwed up, they're supposed to be here in 1 day. It took 2 on Express. They were fine. I mean, they were still warm. They were a little shocked from being in the mail and then in the dark for 2 days, but it's really rare for anyone to get an opportunity to get truly wild-caught rainbow fish, especially in the United States these days. So I'm going to show you all this footage. I know I'm purposely not saying what kind of fish this is. I want you to look at it and see. A little yellow in the tail. That's kind of wild caught. That's what you're going to expect. Now, if you look, and if you watch, you might have seen some hints of red. That should start telling you what we're talking about, what kind of fish this is. It is a Melanitania species. That's a lot of rainbow fish, though. They come from Papua New Guinea. You can see they're healthy, swimming, no problem. I had no problem with any of these fish. I've had them for a little over a week now. It's about 2 weeks at this point. Absolutely perfect. Doing well. And so now we'll remind you the tank that they're going into while I tell you some important things here. This is a fish that's not very common in the hobby anymore. So this is an opportunity to get a very good-looking fish and bring it back. Dan had 17 of these fish, like I said. I talked to him ahead of time after I found out he had them. And he did me a really solid deal, so big thanks again to Dan, our friendly fishmonger. He basically made sure that it was, he's still making some money. I want to make sure he's making money. He's doing hard work, but he held on to these through like the snowmageddon that Seattle had, because you get a 1/4 inch of snow here and the city just shuts down. So he held them for, I think, 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. Just to make sure that the shipping would be clean. And even though we waited that long, the shipping still screwed up on us, which sucks, but you know what? Every single fish was perfectly A-okay. They're just incredible. So, enough screwing around, right? What kind of fish is this? These are the red-striped rainbow fish. Scientifically, Melanitania rubrostriata. Absolutely beautiful fish. Absolutely beautiful. And so now we're going to swap over and you're going to see them in the tank. Through the power of the internet, we can show you their home and then them in their home. And this is something you don't get to see very often. This is true wild-caught rainbow behavior. Now, they're a little settled in, but you'll notice they still stay very close together. They're not like a mixed community. They stay much more tight, more true schooling behavior, and you'll watch as they move from the side to side of the tank. It's real schooling behavior. They really cluster tight. They stay close. They play follow the leader. And this is stressed out, and they still they look kind of silver from afar. I didn't want to stress them by getting too close, but I could see with my naked eye the yellows in the fins, some of the black spotting patterns, the red that's coming in, and these are young fish. These aren't full adults. They're going to get big over time. These fish are going to get near 5 inches. So eventually, this 40 long's not enough for them. But for probably about a year, this is a good home for these fish. And then eventually we'll move them to a much bigger tank. Definitely going to breed these guys. This is an opportunity to get the offspring of true wild-caught rainbows. I don't know that I can express this enough, how rare that is, unless you're like Gary Lang. You're one of very few people, and you know, for some of the guys in Australia and stuff, yeah, you're going to get some of the Australian rainbows wild-caught, but in the States, this is so hard to do, to get true wild-caught rainbows, and I'm just absolutely thrilled. So you can see, look how tight they swim together, and they know I'm there, and they're not really sure what to think of me. They're trying to test all these plants because they're not sure what to think of them. They're not used to all this vegetation from where they come from. The way that the plants are in their wild environment are far different than they are in a tank like this, especially all these crypts and stuff that are growing out. So they're going to act a little different. They're curious, they're investigating. And the best part, Dan really did a great job of getting these fish used to just, you know, flake food, pellet food. I think he said he did rapashi. I had one day where they were still a little stressed and they didn't want to eat some flake, but after that, honestly, they've ate everything we've given them. So again, I can't say enough like highly recommending Dan's Fish. And to be clear here, not sponsored by him whatsoever. Because it's 2 boxes of fish, the shipping was atrociously expensive because we did express. We didn't want to risk anything. But you know what? I don't care. This is wild-caught rainbows. And to be clear here, this is not a fish that's endangered. It's not one of the ones that's on the IUCN Red List or anything like that. So there's no risk there. They're just not common in the hobby anymore. Now here we go, the next day, after getting some frozen Daphnia, and look at all the color. And in a second, you're actually going to see these males. Look at the red. Look at the red in that boy. And this is a young fish, and that red's already coming in so strong on the back end of that boy. And you're going to see them start flaring their fins up, the males here, and doing some displays and spinning around and sparring. They're just took to it no problem. Settled in about 2 days total. And then they're flaring. They're already showing the attempt to breed and court. So you can very easily get eggs out of these fish very quickly. Sorry about the weird stutter there. It's something in processing the video did that. But again, thanks to my girlfriend and my roommate for producing a lot of this video footage while I was at work. Sorry about the finger there. And then, again, a huge thank you to Dan's Fish. He also runs getgills.com, so if you're looking to buy any of Dan's Fish, that's where you can find him. He also has a YouTube channel. I'm going to link it below. He's just a really awesome dude, carries a lot of good stuff, and is a super, super great guy. So, let's bounce back to my face. Well, there you go, guys. They're here. They're doing great. I'm a little under the weather. You guys can probably hear that in my voice. Sorry about that, but I'm trying to make sure that you guys still get all your videos on time rather than taking time off. I would rather sound a little worse than not give you a video at all. So let's go over some really cool stuff. This is the Melanitania rubrostriata. Picture right here of what an adult looks like. Oh, we're back to me now. And, this is a really cool fish. For those of you who guessed in the last video, the red striped rainbow, kudos to you. You're either huge fans of Dan's Fish, you've watched a lot of his videos, you studied just based on what I said, or you're psychic. Or you're from the future. Ooh, what am I doing in 2 weeks? Do I win the lotto? Probably not. Probably not. Math is really bad. Anyway, sorry for being weird. Like I said, I can't express enough how hard it is, especially in the States, to get true wild-caught rainbow fish, especially one that's not in the hobby, but is still a very pretty fish. And for those of you who are like only kind of vaguely familiar with rainbows, yes, this looks a lot like one of the Australian rainbow fish, like an Australis or the Western Australian rainbow. But they actually don't come from Australia at all. So they are just from a family that is up in Papua, and they kind of like disappeared from the hobby. I'm not really sure why. I'm sure there are some like real hardcore dedicated hobbyists, your Gary Lang type people that still have these fish, but I can't recall ever seeing them specifically in Gary's fish room. I've seen several tours. I don't remember seeing them, and I'm sure somebody in the comments is going to be like, "Of course they're in there, you dummy!" But they're not that common. They're a very pretty fish, and the opportunity to get like F1 offspring, so fresh from wild in the United States, I basically forced room into my fish room. And I'd been wanting to get something from Dan. Just, I watched Dan's channel. He just always seems like a really solid guy. The way that he conducts business is really good. I've watched lots of his tutorials on how to ship fish, because, I've having shipped a few fish now, I've definitely learned a couple lessons that, like, Dan's technique is way better than what I was doing, so I need to fix that. But just there's all these things that Dan does that I think we hobbyists can really learn from. One, he's been in the hobby for a long time. Two, he knows a lot of people, especially when it comes to distribution and being able to potentially get some of those wild caught fish. And we're not trying to get stuff you're not supposed to have. Like, we're not wild catching zebra plecos. But, we're not taking the fish that are endangered or ruining the environment. We're safely collecting using the right people. And this was because these fish are young. They come from an area where potentially it can be another species of rainbowfish. But if you look at that red that's coming in on those bodies, I'm very certain that these are rubro striata. And thankfully, Dan also checked with one of the biggest experts in all of Australia. I won't use his name just so that I don't put some now your seal of approval's there, and none of that stuff. But trust me when I say this guy knows his stuff. I mean, really knows his stuff on a scientific level. And he looked at him and said, yeah, you've got a really good chance they're that. There's a small chance they're this. But all the color looks right, the juvenile, all this kind of stuff sounds right. The only problem we didn't have is that we couldn't get the capture location for these fish, which, if you know us rainbow nerds, we grab onto that capture location like crazy. And Dan's still trying to figure it out for me, but if we don't get it, we don't get it. We know they're wild-caught rubro striata. They're absolutely beautiful fish, and I can't wait to show you guys as they grow up, and eventually we breed them and get some stock and get even more of these out into the United States. Because frankly, this is a fish that should be far more commonly in your tanks. Because if you go look this fish up, and you saw the picture earlier, how could you not want that? It is gorgeous. Those big, beautiful red stripes and that big fin pattern. Ooh, I cannot wait. So, with that, I guess the only thing left to say is thank you guys so much for watching, and stay awesome.